Right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Open Spaces Committee meeting on Monday, the 17th of June, 2024 at 7 p.m. Bit of housekeeping, fire exits directly behind me through the kitchen or through the front doors where you came. If you'd like any refreshments, there is tea and coffees in the bar area. Moving on, we've got apologies for absence.
Yeah, we've got Councillor Dale and Councillor Taylor, our code 2. And then we haven't had any apologies from Councillor Tyra and Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Does anyone have any interests to declare, either generally or personal? None. First, public participation. Nothing from the public. Minutes of the Environment Committee on the 20th of May, 2024. Is that proposal? Seconded, please. Seconded by Councillor Wenham, and a show of hands.
Yeah,
is that unanimous?
Majority. Have we got any hands up? Yeah, majority, 1 abstention.
Next, we have item 6, which is the open spaces consultation feedback from our workshop, which was Saturday morning. So Sharon's done very well to get some notes together in such a short time. Thank you very much, and thank you for the workshop, Sharon. It's very well presented.
Good. Yeah, it went really well. So to just sort of summarise, I will have to map things. We decided that, or the council decided that they were going to go and follow what was the majority opinion, which was option F. And so that mix, it was the mix that they worked on. They obviously, with regard to the 73,000 that is available, the basics are that the council is still going to have to be responsible for the looking after the fencing, the grass cutting, maintenance of any trees and existing shrubbery before you then decide on the enhancements. One of the major features for that piece of land is the orchard, which we already have funding for. And it was decided that they would largely go along with the location of the orchard at option F. However, they would sort of make it a little bit more linear, and it would run along the fencing line. And where you've got particular types of fruit tree that are placed together, we could have signs that are put up to show what particular fruit is in that section. And possibly in between some fruit picking shrubs could also be strategically planted for foraging. They were looking at benches and seats, which would also be strategically placed and in a linear way, perhaps in between the orchard trees, etc. And possibly in some central spaces, but not so much to impede the general sort of like route where people walk through. And also to make sure that some picnic benches are at least pairs so that families can congregate together if they wish to. And that same principle would apply to the trim trails. Perhaps you would have specialist types appearing in different areas, obviously for different perhaps age ranges, etc. One thing that was not favoured on option F were the placing of permanent goals, because again, we wanted to ensure that the area was still a good walk through, but also you could enjoy other sports as well as football. And the fact that there's only one goal on Norfolk Drive, so it was decided to add a goal to that particular area, which isn't too far away if people do want to play football. But that isn't to say they can't bring along their temporary goals if they wanted to place them there. But then that doesn't detract from anybody who wants to play baseball or cricket or other such activities. And also not forgetting that we're going to be putting through some pathways there. Obviously not like municipal paths, but those paths would be created for linkage between the various housing estates through the land. So that's just basically a quick summary of what was discussed.
Any comments from me? No. I think, thank you, Sharon, for summarising. The item was for consideration and resolution. I think there was maybe just a few points that we should just ratify here, because obviously at this point, any of the discussions that have had in the workshop is to help aid and formulate some proposals and to give direction when it comes to committee, so that when it comes here, rather than having a very long, lengthy debate, it kind of has aided us in having a more succinct meeting. I think if we could just confirm by proposal that option F is going to be the basis in which we use and develop to enhance Blackthorn Road. So although that's the preference and the basis, it might be amended, for instance, the removal of the goals that were currently proposed when consulted on. I think it would also be prudent to maybe at this point say that the linear lineage of the tree was the preference, and as that is time sensitive and the planting is suspected to be taking place in February 2025, I would like to formalise that. I don't know what committee's feeling is on doing that now, or whether or not we think that a second consultation on their placement would be necessary. We've already obviously done 2 consultations now on this area and have taken the feedback into consideration. Would we like to insert a third time before planning? No.
So I think it would actually be a third fee.
It would,
Yeah.
I don't think that would be necessary. I just think maybe if a few of us went down when we're ready to plant and have a look and just visualise it in place, even with the trees like plotted out where they might go.
Well,
I
for the
think
sake
that's
of for the sake of the proposal and for minutes then to reflect, could we say that the orchard, the placement
Will become more linear.
would become more linear from the display in Appendix F, or whatever you're referring to this as, Sharon, taking a linear
area.
approach along the front, the area, and then linear.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, but just for members of the public that are present and any that watch future date, maybe we should just explain it wasn't that we are taking the goals out because we didn't want to put them there, but we felt when we met as a workshop that and for other members that weren't able to attend, we see a lot of children playing in that area, like multiple ball games, cricket, rounders, football. So to put the goals in would limit that other scope, that other scope of play. So we felt that the goals weren't maybe necessary that were shown in the appendix.
And also that to have a diverse offer across our open spaces, and there already is one goal situated in Norfolk Drive, an open space there outside of the park. So we felt that actually we could install a second one to complete that, and actually have a different offer across 2 sites that neighbour each other quite closely.
Makes sense.
And in all fairness, Norfolk Drive, when we've had meetings and spoke to residents and kids there, that is something that they have previously asked for, another goal. So it wasn't that we couldn't be bothered or didn't want to put anything there. We just felt it limited the scope of
Well, if we've
the
got
use.
the chance to improve another area and not lose better use on that site, then that makes sense to me. Don't see why you wouldn't.
I think also if we could at this point agree that the top field or the bottom part of the field, so beyond the area that's outlined on Appendix F, which is currently shown as an enclosed exercise area, the preference was to keep that open and not fenced in. There was a number of reasons for this. One was if we're trying to attract wildlife and improve the biodiversity of the site, fences probably would not help and might be restrictive for hedgehogs or muntjacs or any other small mammals that might be on the site. And also just because of how we've got as the site of the sun at the moment for the installation, actually the upkeep in 10, 15, 20 years time when that might need replacing, that will take up a significant amount of the budget now, but also the future costs were kind of disproportionate to the feedback from the consultation. I think that's fair to say. Benches, bins, I think there was kind of a preference, but I think a site meeting could probably be agreed between, you know, committee members, the park, the groundsman. The trim trail and the climb and frame swings were also preference, but could be explored. The preferred site for those was the smaller parcel, the other side of Blackthorn Road, as shown on Appendix F.
I'm just going to be really pedantic and facetious. I like that. I do like that. But I'm conscious that by putting the children's scope the other side of the road, we're encouraging families to cross that. I would like, if we can, and if it's in the budget, that maybe we put a little bit both sides, but that can be looked at. I'm happy to go with it being there, but see if we can put a little bit of something to the other side, because that is quite a busy road at times.
Fair share.
I think if there was to be like a climb and frame or swings, which was shown as quite a high percentage of the consultation, had actually reflected that was something that was designed in this location, and maybe some small non-obstructive trail pieces on the alternative side. So that there's an element of both sides without it obviously detracting from the free flowing open space.
But I'm happy for us to explore that later. Let's get this. But I just wanted to mute it now because sometimes I forget.
So on the basis of those key points that I've just summarised, which Sharon's been very much scribbling away, I would like to propose that we proceed on that basis, following that direction.
I'm just going to clarify, it's the trees will be more linear from the point that is shown in this map. We're not fencing in the dog walking area, and the third site is the triangular shape for the equipment.
Yes. And that the timber bells won't be being pursued on this site.
Yeah, got that.
Also, Sharon, I think it's administrative, but if you'd like me to mention, obviously, the engagement with the Wildlife Trust, if you need some direction for that also. And the Wildlife Trust are to be engaged
bio enhancements
to advise on those enhancements. The proposed log piles, wildflower, bulb planting to complement the site to increase the biodiversity and wildlife offer. That's the proposal. Can I have a second, please? Seconded by Councillor Wenham, and a show of hands, please.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much, members.
There was other parts of that.
There are other parts of that. That was what I was just looking at.
Do you want me to go through them? Jubilee Board?
Yeah. So
that was I mean, in essence, again, collaboration with the Norfolk Wildlife Trust, which we are already collaborating with Jubilee Wood, but extending perhaps into the mini country park area, because the whole area is just going to be classed as Jubilee Wood and mini country park. There has been talk of putting a pond in there because that's very much wanted by the academy. So it was decided, or it was recommended, should I say, that perhaps we should further liaise with the educational institutions, any youth groups, because that and community access are going to be all important visions for the area. And the pond element would be encouraged because that would be a major feature, and you do need careful considerations to location, how to go about it. You know, it's quite specialist. It's very specialist, actually. And perhaps there would be a small but knowledgeable voluntary group who could assist us with that, is what was mooted. And talk about how the initial land preparation would be handled, because obviously there's going to be possibly a sort of like an access road temporarily, but it could involve large machineries for tractors to till the land and set it to grass. So, in the future, it was talked about that there would need to be access for all from birth to grave, was sort of mentioned, and play elements were also favoured. The academy has also asked if the council could consider setting up of some sort of community council for future collaborations. So that was what was discussed there. So I don't know if you've got anything else.
Yeah, so the only comments that I really have off the back of that, Sharon, was that one of the suggestions that I'd made was that we no longer look at it so narrowly as the Jubilee Wood and then the mini country park, because all 4 parts are going to be in the town council's ownership. So the emphasis is on us to deliver this as a project. So my thought process was we look at it as one free-flowing site and engage with the academy to hopefully deliver what they would like to see, as it was already supposed to, well, originally the 2 parcels at the bottom end were supposed to be gifted to them, but actually have come into the town council's ownership. So to work together to find something that, you know, meets all of our aims and objectives, and have like a second workshop further down the line, engage them on that and invite representation from the academy or some students, and have it maybe a little bit more large scale to make sure that those objectives are being met. Yeah. I do personally favour a water feature scale to be explored and determined if that is the will of the committee. But I would say the community council, I think that was something that Councillor Tyra mentioned, but something that hasn't really been mooted to us before. And actually my personal view on that would be, if we're having workshops and working together with the interested parties, I think that's kind of a bit of a moot point for me.
I'm sorry, I must have left when Councillor. Aren't we the Communities Council? So I'm slightly confused what a community council is, but I welcome clarification elsewhere on that. Does he, obviously a working group, I'm happy to invite other members. I'm just not sure what a community council is. I know the schools have councillors within the schools that the children sit on, and actually if they have one that deals with environmental issues, which I know my daughter's school did at one point, Eco Council, that committee might actually be good to have some of their members, if they have something like that from the school, join us on our workshops.
Yeah.
But I'm just slightly confused. And going back to the water feature, we have to take some flood mitigation risks on this site. So to put in a water feature somewhere, whether it's a water retention site that will naturally come and go with the seasons, is probably
it's a good thing anyway.
idea.
Diversity.
Yeah, the conversation with the council was to include like school and which, it would be much better than the workshop.
Even if it's like, as you just said, like a working group, so that meets, you know, quite frequently as this progresses. I think that would be the better way to do it, and then feed back into committee for decision.
But in all fairness, I am jumping in, but I'm not jumping on anyone's bandwagon. I appreciate at this present time, the children from the high school would probably be our main go-to, because obviously it's adjoining their site. But actually, if we're going to run that workshop, invite a couple of children to represent the high school. I would even like a couple of children from the primary schools. And I say that because they will end up at the high school and are more likely to be at the high school whilst this is being delivered, and towards the end of it, and probably benefit from it more than the children that are already there. So, and you can have a 7 or 8 year old actually give you some really good ideas, and really good, because they see the world completely different to a grown up. So I would even like a couple of representatives from the Rosecroft and the other school as well, in all fairness.
Does anyone else have any thoughts? I also would just like to say that I think it's quite comes quite full circle that when the woodland itself is first Gillian put forward, it was actually by the children, even on the Jubilee Wood site, so the bottom two parts, was a recommendation of the children at the academy when the neighbourhood plan was being drafted and made.
Oh,
Councillor
And
Taylor.
for the one to be the right decision. I'm not being funny. Jubilee Wood Mini Country Park is a mouthful. Can it not just be Jubilee Wood Park? Like, can it just because it's just Jubilee Wood Mini Country? It is a lot, isn't it?
Or even Jubilee Wood and Park.
Or just
Mini's
Jubilee
a
Wood
bit
Park.
demeaning as well.
yeah,
But do you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just think Jubilee Wood Park is
yeah,
much easier. It's not
Yeah.
quite a mouthful, but that's just we can
Yeah.
talk about that. And put
there's
it
going to be
as
a park,
proposal
so
at
I
another
was just,
time.
yeah, Jubilee Park.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it does roll off the tongue, doesn't it? Mini country park as well, sort of, really, yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Bear in mind, we've got the country park up the road, the other side of Buckingham, we don't be confusing
Oh,
the issue,
yeah.
do we?
Yeah,
Well, I just, I'm lazy and I
yeah,
Jubilee would look like Jubilee Wood Park, it to me is I too lazy, it's too many words.
yeah.
Mm.
I think it does roll off the tongue better.
But I digress, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Keep the
that's
votes
fine.
all together.
I think that might be a conversation for another day, to be included with the academy.
Mm.
But are members happy if I was to propose that we go forward with a working group approach, running regular or semi-regular, frequent as they need to be, workshops to include representation from the local schools.
Maybe even two pupils from each school, because you don't want to make it unmanageable. But then possibility that it would be a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon, so those children were available to engage. Like, and their parents have, even if their parents stay.
Yeah.
But,
And
Yeah,
to express that the committee favours a water feature, size and scale to be explored and determined.
well, that's good, probably advise us.
Yeah.
They're
they
already
will,
engaged.
yeah. And we also discussed the Norfolk Pond project as well, yeah. Who would engage with on the pond element.
Can I have a proposal, seconder please, councillor Fraser, and a show of hands for approval?
Yeah, that is
That is
unanimous.
As well, thank you very much. Next we have the litter bins and dog.
Oh, yeah, what about
Waste.
Birch Drive? Sorry.
Oh, sorry,
And
yeah.
so- yeah, but these two, because they're quite.
I'll tell you what, yeah, it's because they're the big ones.
Yeah.
Birch Drive, do you want to give the summary,
Yeah,
Sharon? And then
okay, yeah, it's the sort of conclusions they came to that they'd like to recommend is there should be a pathway from the existing walkway to the benches. Where the benches already exist, it was pointed out that there could be an old oil tank underneath the ground, just for information, if anyone has any historical knowledge. The fences and gates should be replaced. The oak tree that a resident wants to donate as a memorial oak is still in the picture here, and the workshop suggested that could perhaps be included at the front open part of the space. The species can be worked on, but we sort of have an idea of the sort of tree that we want as an oak. And then the old concrete base that's there, which is obviously very dilapidated, that needs to be much improved. And we still want the theme to be sensory elements, and they could incorporate seasonal shrubs, grasses and plants that are visually stimulating as well as fragrant, which then goes with the sensory bit. The open front part could also have some extra seating, and this was mentioned right from the start, but chess tables can be set in for residents to enjoy.
Sharon, these improvements, so obviously with
Yeah.
the Jubilee Woodland, that's an ongoing project where funding's been secured.
Yeah.
Same applies to obviously Blackthorn Road, there's money set aside for that. For these improvements,
Yeah.
where would the money come from?
Well, I would have to come look at our budgets. And I would perhaps have to either find a budget category for it. I believe we have wired some money in our open spaces now, so I think there's about 100,000 in there. So we could take it from there. If that obviously is taken up with other things, then there's always the option to do a one-off project that you could incorporate into the budget preset for next year's budget.
Councillor Taylor?
I'm mindful of where the money's coming from. I think we could probably break this down and do it gradually. Maybe do the paths, because I feel the path, it is probably the most important thing to do there, because it is overgrown. You wouldn't push a wheelchair over that grass to where the seating area is at the moment. The gates and the fencing maybe are not so important at this precise moment in time, but the footpath is, and some fragrant shrubs and stuff are probably not expensive, like, or too expensive or too out of the way for us to be able to do.
Yeah.
So I would sort of like maybe us to, although we've got some big projects spinning at the moment and up in the air, this is maybe one we can just do a little bit more gradually.
Yeah.
And start small.
Yeah.
Maybe do the path and then see where we are budget wise.
Yeah.
Later on in the year.
Councillor Westby?
Is there any mileage in looking at this as a community project? Getting people to volunteer to do the work,
Yeah,
go on a bit of ownership.
Yeah.
Good advertisement for local construction or builders or pavers or.
yeah,
We might get like
Oops,
materials.
yeah, definitely.
Residents to knock in and
yeah,
do some of the work.
okay,
The residents used to years ago, but
In the same way as the bloomers look after
Yeah.
the planting and whatever,
yeah.
as a one-off. Yeah.
Most definitely. That would then keep the costs down.
It's kind of small scale project as well.
It is one of our smaller open spaces as well, so I think if we could apply that to any of the open spaces, I do think this would probably be the most achievable.
Yeah, Yeah.
So on following the improvements which Sharon noted, are we happy to take that approach that Sharon advertises for community input to deliver those improvements?
Oh, we're gonna start with the path.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can see in bit and if we can get everyone on board on the same weekend, that's amazing.
yeah,
But if we can't find anyone that's prepared to do it,
yeah,
let's get the path in, let's get everybody able to use the site and then we can.
I think it'd be the path and the foundations under the bench as one continuous thing, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? Getting that right in the first instance.
See a start of the project.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Because
fine.
the fencing is obviously going to be an expensive element of it.
Yeah,
So, which at this, it's not in bad repair, it's not falling down, it's not dangerous.
yeah,
So maybe like we could finish
Yeah.
with the fencing and tick some of the other boxes.
now that, and if you're happy with the location of the road is, then perhaps the tree could be planted as well, which I know the lady really
Very
keen to get that
Yeah.
in, so we research that and have that in soon.
Yeah, I think that again should be another priority because the ladies have been like the time had to be.
October's
Yeah,
the time, the weather's dying off, it's not quite so hot. So the ground's not too hard.
And then lastly, we have St Edmunds Close. Did we take the vote?
No,
No, yeah, Councillor Westby, is that proposed?
Yeah.
Who is that?
That's the proposal.
Councillor Fraser and Sharon Hands, please.
Yeah.
That's unanimous again. And then lastly, we have the improvements at St Edmunds Close. Sharon, over to you.
Okay, it was, I mean, obviously, from the comments, which were car park, a possible allotment site and also a site for housing. The allotment sites element or the suggestion was sort of like sort of ruled out really, basically because we do have 3 established allotment sites, and those sites themselves could actually include any raised beds for people with mobility issues, along with the fact that 2 out of 3 of them do have some good parking. So it was felt that, yeah, rule that out. And car parking was also ruled out. So I think everyone wanted to recommend that the council considers, which is, you know, it's not unheard of for a town council to do this, but yes, to consider an element of social housing on this plot, either to rent or sell, the proceeds of which could be used to fund perhaps the Norfolk Drive nearby play area. So obviously from the purchase preparations, it has been established, and I think you knew already that there is one TPO or tree preservation order on the land, but all felt that this is not necessarily an obstacle. So if members, we'll see what members think about that, and then I'll maybe say the next moves if you are happy, but if not, I won't.
Does anyone have any comments? Councillor S. Taylor, Councillor Thwaites, do you have your hand up as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I can say actually I'd left the workshop as well when this bit was discussed, so I wasn't present for those discussions. Visiting that site regularly, a resident that's there, I will agree that it probably wouldn't be good for allotment use because obviously people coming and going all the time is not great. So I think that was a reasonable rule out. I agree that our other allotments are accessible and big enough, and maybe we can make that recommendation that the next plot that comes up, that maybe we look to be making that community plot with raised beds or something. And I would preferably probably say the Taylor Wimpey allotment on Grosvenor Park, because parking there is probably the best and the allotments there are quite a good size, whereas Chapel Road, again, quite restricted, Queen's Road. So I think that probably that my preference would see us try and get one, if not two, plots on the Grosvenor Park allotment. So I think the workshop was quite right with that decision, and I'm open to exploring what the workshop as an
Councillor
option.
Thwaites.
Seems a very similar line. I was here, obviously, intrigued to hear them sort of got that sort of conclusion as such. What sort of property will we possibly be looking at? What viability is there? Do we keep them? Do we rent them out? What's
I don't think that went so far as with that. They just recommended that if that is something that's on the cards, that I would go to Brecklin and get a pre-application study done with them to sort of look at whether that could be feasible or not. Yeah, and then don't decide anything until you've got that information.
yeah, cool.
So district-wide, there is a deficit in single bedroom social housing.
Okay.
So that might be something to consider, but I think when Sharon, should the committee decide it, should she meet with the planning authority, that's something that they might be able to discuss. What is the demand? What could be met?
Yeah.
You know, what would you like to see for the application to be successful?
What's something that's not really used and
Councillor Johnson, we had your hand up.
Yeah, mine was just on the basis of what you've just said there, but also the fact we need some kind of social housing for the younger residents or even older residents if required, especially if they're on.
Councillor Taylor.
I wouldn't like to see anything that was not in keeping with the cul-de-sac that's already there, which is predominantly small bungalows. So if that is the route that is going to be taken, Sharon, we're now going to say, yes, Sharon, go off and explore that as a project. I would be mindful that it is within keeping
And has
Similar style of
sufficient
design.
parking as well, because on the street parking is already a slight issue in that area. And I think that is maybe one of the factors as well when coming to the conclusion that the workshop did. If you were to have something like an allotment there attracting people that might have to travel, especially if it was aimed at people that had, reduced mobility or any disabilities, that actually they'd probably travel by car and there wouldn't be sufficient car parking nearby to accommodate that need, which is why I think the preference was actually to make our existing allotments, rather than segregate it and have one site, but actually to integrate and have something that gives provision for, people with reduced mobility or disabilities on our existing sites, would be more appropriate and would actually then leave this plot available for an alternative use. That, could generate an income that could make better enhancements and improvements to other open spaces in the town. Councillor Dutton, did you have something
Yeah, I
else?
was basically going to say, one of the words that I mentioned at the weekend was obviously arms houses kind of stuff. So they become community houses or setting up or the direction to keep them within the town instead of having to explore.
So if we were to propose in two parts, firstly, that the land at St Edmund's Close, Sharon engaged the local planning authority and look to pursue a planning application for that site and how that may or may not work going forward, whether it's retained, rented, sold, whatever. Sharon to go away and undertake all of the investigations and report back. And then in the second part, as was discussed, the allotment plots to explore that on the Grosvenor Park and Queens Road sites.
Yeah.
And come back. So explore and come back.
Okay.
Councillor Westby.
If that site was developed and the property built on it, if we then sold that property up, there'd be the overage, wouldn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we keep the properties and let them out and take the income from that, would that be subject to overage as well?
No,
No, good.
Not so today, but I am engaging with the solicitor on that. I have asked a question, but I haven't had a definitive answer.
back. But it was just the way she worded it that I just needed clarification. So I thought I'd have that information for tonight, but that's not a problem.
Yeah, that'd be good news, certainly. Yeah.
Can I have a seconder to that proposal, please? I'll take Councillor Waite and a show of hands, please.
Yes, that's
Also
unanimous.
unanimous.
In all fairness, if the town council hadn't purchased that parcel of land, it would have gone out to auction and the scenario would be the same.
But the money
Exactly.
wouldn't be reinvested into
The
the
money
community.
would be coming back into the town, and it probably wouldn't be looked at as social housing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we've got item 7, the litter bins and dog waste bins for consideration and resolution.
So I think I put in front of you the mapping now. We did an exercise where Councillor Taylor and Councillor Fraser and myself went round the town and looked at all the dilapidated bins, whether they're dog bins or litter bins. And Breckland had also produced a list for us. So I've incorporated that into the mapping, and I've also incorporated what we own and what our groundsmen currently have responsibility for.
Councillor Johnson.
Okay, if you look Worcester Way, where it goes into the fields, again, recreation ground, there is actually been a dog bin on the left-hand side. It currently is not proposed. It's open.
Where is that, Jerry?
Worcester
so-
Way, at the bottom of the map, Sharon.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
It's a dog bin, it's literally on the floor now.
Okay. yeah. I'll look into that.
It's been intact, but obviously it's been pushed in.
Yeah, needs a post. Yeah, okay.
I think the post is still there.
Oh, is it?
so
Yeah,
I think
it just needs
It's
to be,
just-
yeah,
Slid down, it needs
needs
popping back up.
attention.
the
Yeah,
recreation
okay,
noticed that it wasn't on the.
thanks, yeah.
Someone did mention to me the bus stop opposite the school entrance. If it was possible, do they do a bin that mounts on a pole, the fixture that's
Are you-
there?
Do you mean the primary or the?
No, sorry,
That's-
if it's possible, there's something, not one of the big black ones, just one of the smaller ones maybe. Can you get those that go on that fitting on the fittings?
Yeah,
That was something mentioned to me.
Yeah. So,
What
did
the
you
numbers
say?
refer to?
Yeah.
It was, yeah, so when we done the drive around looking at the bins and following the workshop, one of the places that was raised as not having a bin was actually directly outside of the academy.
Oh, was it? Okay.
There's no bin in the facility there, so as people was coming in and out of the school.
Good shout.
That was a place that was recommended for an additional bin.
Okay.
There was actually quite a few recommendations for an additional bin, and Sharon has been in touch with Breckland to ask whether
Yeah.
or not they might favour maybe accepting 3 or 4 requests, but a response hasn't been received yet. But
but,
I think it'd be better to do it in phases rather than ask
yeah,
No, I agree.
in one hit
One
to,
hit.
to prioritise a few
Yeah.
locations that take priority. Councillor S Taylor.
I was actually going to say, in all fairness, at the bus stop and outside the school would probably be a good shout. But I'm quite happy for you to stagger that if you feel like that proposal. Because I agree, when people get off the bus, often you do have it. Not that you have tickets anymore, because you did. You don't really, because they just sat with their phones, don't they? But yeah, I think that's good. The fact that we're looking at this is probably a good idea because some of our bins throughout High Street have definitely seen better
Well,
damage.
it's not a nationwide event, but
It's not so much tickets, it's more, plastic bottles now.
Yeah. But if we are looking at new bins, can they be multi-purpose, like some of them are dog and litter? Because I just think
We thought
Yeah.
that, we thought it a better multi-purpose like.
So-
Bigger
So,
size.
a litter bin, dog waste can be put into, but I do think maybe some signage or like if they make stickers or something that can be placed on the bins to
That
show
say-
that it's acceptable,
Mm.
that
Yeah.
they're dual use, because I
Yeah.
think some people think you can't put dog waste in a litter bin,
Yeah.
which obviously you can, but I think if we could just promote that,
Yeah.
might encourage that dual use some more. Councillor
just
Thwaites.
on, Councillor just asked, what are the numbers for? What do they refer to? The ones, the sevens, twos?
That means how many bins there are on that
10.
particular piece of
Okay.
land, yeah. But that's great, because if I get a query in as well, just a general one, sort of someone saying, oh, on Tees Road or something, the litter bin, I sort of like know that there is one and I know what type it is. So that's going to be handy for us operationally as well.
the one by the train station, by Station News,
Yeah.
is that for us to put one there? Because I can't actually recall seeing it in
There was one
There
on
is,
the
but
outside,
really,
but not,
it's really strange. You can't,
Yeah.
I didn't think there was either, but there was. It's right in the-
It's tucked in.
pylons, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah.
So you've got to look for it.
Yeah,
Oh.
some of
you
them
see
were a
it,
little
yeah.
bit
You see
hard
it,
to
yeah.
Oh, is
see.
it on the other side of the road?
It's
Or
on the
the
other side of the
It's the
Yeah.
side of the football club, not the
Yeah.
side. That's okay. I'm looking there and thinking, is it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the side of the road on the map? And I'm thinking, is there a bin? Okay.
Also with the Breckland bins, because I only got the list on Friday, there's lots of what 3 words codes, which I've also got now. And so although I've sort of put it in the region of the road, it's not the exact location, but it's just to show you that on that road somewhere there is a bin and how many. But I will,
That's not catch on you.
Yeah.
These three.
confused myself. So, yeah, but I have got the exact location, certainly for the Breckland bins as well, which is quite useful. But we've only just done that exercise, so this is brand new.
And
That can
I'm
be
looking at this
tweaked.
map thinking, my God, there are so many bins, which is random, because Taylor and myself went to London last, October. And we walked miles from the train station with litter in our hands, wanted to put in a
Yeah.
bin, couldn't find one, and I'm looking at this map.
Yeah.
here thinking, oh
There's
my
more
God,
than you think.
there's
Yes,
so many bins in Attleborough.
yeah.
If anyone has any particular locations that they would like Sharon to explore with Breckland, or whoever owns the land, whoever's relevant, the placement of getting permissions for those bins, can we please have them? Councillor S. Taylor.
Yeah, I did bring it up before. On Cypress Road, there is a piece that comes through from Cypress Road to Yew Tree. And I did say a gentleman and he said they'll go out and get a bit round there and would like a bin in that vicinity. But I did say maybe either end, so I know that's
Yeah.
2, but
Did you not think that?
But the thing is, on Breckland's list, they've
We're not
actually
making
got a
them
note
for
of there
us,
should be
what we're
one
going to
bin each end already, whether they're there or not. Because where I've got the Breckland bins, I still need to go out and check to see if those bins are still there. Because that's just what they've got a record of.
So that
They
we're
may have gone.
so we're taking a step in the right direction, but to keep this under review, and I'm happy to continue
Yeah.
to work with you, Sharon.
Yeah.
On checking those bins and the state of other bins and bring recommendations back to the committee.
Yeah.
As and when, because we want to stagger the approach.
Yeah,
Could I just suggest that in the first instance, we make requests for bins to be located at the academy, the main entrance on Norwich Road,
yeah,
opposite by the bus stop.
Yeah.
Also outside of the Lomond Road estate, because that end of Bestthorpe Road there is nothing.
Yeah.
And also from all the way from Mill Lane until Atling Way there's nothing.
yeah,
Outside of the recreation ground, also on Bestthorpe Road further down, because I think Thieves Lane, yes, yeah,
Are you on the fire station end or?
the other end, so towards Atling Arlington Gardens, outside of the gate of the recreation ground, I think it would be responsible as the owner of that site to have
Yeah.
it in there, but also that be frequented by other people. And I will say Yew Tree Road near Bramley Court and Brecon Council's small parcel of land where those two garages are, there is a little bin there. So I think actually this Cypress Road end would be appropriate at the end of the alleyway, which we discussed on site. But I'm happy to go to each of these locations with you, Sharon
Yeah,
and Jane,
yeah,
if preferred,
that's fine.
to make that agreement.
Yeah,
And I will say, excuse me,
Sorry.
come on, guys. I will say, Sharon did note at the beginning of the meeting that we have 3 litter bins currently in our possession in stock. And I would actually like us to look to purchase more, but to use at least one of those to replace the bin that's outside Spire, which is very, very tatty, and I think does bring the town down a little. Councillor Taylor.
I'm happy with those locations. I'm also happy for the one to be replaced on Connaught Road. I was actually going to suggest, if we have 3 in stock, can we please replace the 3 tattiest throughout the town centre, which I count Connaught Road and Exchange Street, that loop as the town centre. I would say the design of bins we bought to go on the square are a much nicer design of bin. I don't know if they're expensive or less expensive than what we normally purchase, but they are a really nice designed bin.
The newest ones.
The newest ones,
Yeah.
yeah. So
They're quite
that would be my preference, but I'm happy for other members to jump on board there and say what they would prefer.
I will say that on the back of that, we actually bulk bought 10 of those, I think. I'm looking at Councillor Westby, he might have been the only person, Councillor Wenham might have been on the committee at the time. But I think we bulk bought 10,
no, we've got a few.
because they actually were quite a good price. I think they're about £320 each. Like,
yeah.
that
Sounds
is
about right.
really good for a living, by the way.
It's just one of those things.
But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sounds really nice.
the
Wide
company,
bed.
obviously, those bins, they are very traditional. They are quite aesthetically pleasing, and they also, I think, because they're a solid surface, would have scope to have signage or stickers on them,
Okay, great.
displaying that it could be used for dog bins. But happy for you to look at pricing, Sharon, and
Okay.
bring back to the next meeting
Yeah,
the purchase
that's
of the
fine.
new ones, and also to review if our requests for these locations have been approved.
Yeah, okay,
So you've got 3 remaining from the 10 we purchased.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we've got 3 still in stock.
But rather than cite them at new sites, my preference would be to replace the ones that are in our store.
yeah,
That
With
is
those
currently,
3.
because we can do that in the interim till the next
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
So the ground staff can just crack on and get that
Yeah.
done, and start making those
Yeah.
improvements. I would like a proposal.
So I'm happy for Sharon, my proposal would be for Sharon to go and look for bins to go at the high school, either side of the road, Cypress Road. Is there a fourth one in there?
Outside the Bestthorpe Road and also outside the Lomond Estate.
So 2 to go, yeah, on that stretch of road.
Yeah.
And then for the ground staff to replace the 3 tattiest bins in the vicinity of the town centre with what we have in stock. And for you to go away and look at designs and prices for bins that are in keeping with the ones we bought last time.
Another 10.
I'd second that.
Thank you very much. Can I
Yeah.
have a show of hands, please?
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
unanimous. Thank you, everybody. And we've got 10 minutes to go to our next meeting and we're almost at the end, so I'll try and go quickly. Correspondence. The first is item A, which is a police request to use Queen Square for an antisocial behaviour event on the 23rd of November 2024. Yeah, so that's councillor S Taylor, seconded by councillor Dalton, and a show of hands, please. That's unanimous.
Thanks.
And 8B, inquiry from a new football club, Redbridge United Football Club. Sharon, councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know they come to us, and I know through the correspondence, Sharon went back and said, like, to go to our football team, our football club that use the rec. There is a spare pitch on the rec that the football club. I don't really ever see them use the pitch to kind of that end. So there is another pitch.
On,
You can get
no,
someone-
Yeah.
they use both
Oh, they
pitches
use-
on a Saturday, every Saturday.
Do
use
they?
both.
Oh, no. See them use both. I think you have to see them.
Yeah,
I only say that, the only reason that I wasn't under the impression they used it often was because when I had someone from the football club ask about when the fair was there, could they use the other pitch? I just assumed that they didn't use the other pitch that often.
The veteran used to use it. So I think that's a lot of
Yeah.
veterans team.
I think it used to be very frequently used because I used to go most Saturdays down the rec. And also I will say both pitches would be littered with their tape. So I think during that was also an indication that both were being frequently used.
I mean,
So,
yeah, I mean,
But
all
I think that was from the veterans team. I'm not sure if the veterans team.
Well, I think we could always ask if they use both pitches, and if they don't,
Yeah.
I don't see why another club couldn't.
I think so.
Also, Games Meadow. Are all of the pitches
Well,
there?
the thing is that tends to be used for the juniors, yeah.
Yeah, that's got a youth.
Yeah.
So I think you'll get.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had a response from Breckland to tell me whether they have had a talk to Attleborough Town Football Club. I was just thinking, because we're still sort of negotiating the football lease, we're now out of season for football, aren't we? So we've got till about September, and I'm thinking, why not maybe see how those negotiations have gone, because things may well change in some way. They might not, but they might. You don't know how things are going to go. So it's very difficult to even allow the football club that is existing there to make decisions when everything's still up in the air. My advice would be to get the negotiations out of the way first and see how the land lies.
I'm very happy to accept that recommendation. Members in agreement.
Yeah.
Recommendation is advice.
Yeah, advice, yeah.
And are members in agreement?
Advice.
I don't think it warrants a resolution. I think it would just, okay, moving on. 9, the mini country park request from Breckland to accept soil for consideration and resolution.
Yeah, I mean, that one is, you've had the paperwork there, which the visual is really useful, and then the backup email. So they've been, at least they have come back and they have got a proposal that I can put before you, because it was all a bit up in the air. So you now know the orange bits on the visual is the delivery route for big construction vehicles that will come by that way. We know that they will be putting a temporary road surface down so that big vehicles won't obviously sink. And the other part of the request is to the bund, that they're proposing a linear bund, which will always be less than 2 meters high, that they will, when they've excavated, they will go back and deposit that in a line. So they're just asking for your views on that. I previously sought advice from our land strategy company, and they said that, you know, that would probably be okay. Planning also said if you keep it under 2 meters high, then you wouldn't really need to seek planning permission for that. So,
Is it gonna get in the way?
well, if it's put there,
Page is there.
so it should be on the, yeah,
I think it was sent out as a separate paper.
but what I've
I
got,
haven't got the one with the big.
oh, yeah,
For residents that are looking at that, that's not something.
yeah, yeah.
The only thing I will say is from the handouts from the Jubilee Wood presentation that was received, where they're proposing the bund
Yeah,
to literally directly be placed along that back
yeah,
is where had been identified on this as the best
Mm.
placement for the wet woodland.
yeah,
So obviously somewhere that you'd expect to be maybe a bit marshier anyway. And if you compare that to the other imagery that shows kind of the like not flood
Yeah,
risk area,
yeah.
but the risk of groundwater flooding,
Mm.
that comes along the front of that. And I personally feel like it might then hold it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than let that water escape. I'm not sure that the bund is best placed in the proposed location, and actually the opposite
Yeah,
side might be better placed.
What I was thinking is if the earth gets dumped there, and it's in the wrong place.
Once
it
it's
will
there,
cost
it's
a
there.
fort- Once it costs a fortune to do it again.
Yeah,
yes, yeah,
but if I
If you've got to dispose of it, it costs the earth.
yeah,
so the proposal, so this is the Jubilee Woodland part, and this is the Mini Country Park part, so of the triangle piece of land. The bund, they're proposing to place it at the back along the A11 side here. At the back as a bund. But on this map, this shows the same area. This blue line is the flood risk area.
Mhm.
So it would, and it shades across that. So that whole bit where they're proposing to put it is where the flood risk area is. And I wonder if the bund would have any influence in that. I might be wrong.
yeah.
It's further up, Taylor.
No, it's not.
If you look at these two next to each other, it is further up.
It's it's literally at the edge of the site.
It's not, it's further up.
Oh, no, oh, yes, now this, she's right, because that is Jubilee Wood.
No, this is Jubilee Wood.
Yeah,
It's-
and that is this
Yeah.
piece here, Taylor.
It's to the right of that light
That
blue line.
triangle you have here,
Sorry, I'm just going down towards the table.
The bund starts to the right of that.
so it starts here. The bund
The
starts-
Jubilee Wood is marked out as red. Is it not?
No, that's this
Marked
piece
out
here,
red.
Taylor.
No, because that's the cemetery and that is the allotment and this is behind the academy.
That's
So that is the Jubilee Wood. That is the country.
Oh, okay, I just look at
Yeah.
those measurements
No.
are the same, that was that.
No,
Yeah,
No,
it's a
no,
bit of an
no.
odd way that they've
It
done
is.
it, because
It's-
we only
it's
are
bigger
Jubilee
on the
Jubilee
Absolutely.
Wood landscape
The
strategy.
wood
Actually,
is down.
if you're right, if you look where the end of the slip road is.
Yeah. And if you look at where the cemetery is, so the Jubilee Wood backs onto the cemetery, that is the cemetery with the chapel.
Right, look at these four squares.
Yeah.
Square, square, square,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
and then the slip road as well.
So
that brings it there.
So
Yeah.
this is this.
This, yeah,
And
it's
that
just
is a-
deceiving, because
is a
on these
flood
two
line.
maps,
These
it's
are, this is the flood area here.
exactly the same size.
Which is where the fund is
Yeah.
supposed to go.
Yeah.
Now, I
That
don't know
looks
what members
like-
feel about that, but I'm saying, I think
Yeah.
this side might be more appropriate with like a gap
Yeah.
for access.
Yeah, and then.
It was just that.
Cemetery there.
Yeah, and this is the cemetery here.
Yeah.
So that's that, and that is that.
Yeah. That's right,
This
yeah, yeah.
is definitely this.
Yeah.
That's the bund that's been proposed. This is the flood risk area. So they're proposing that the bund, yeah.
Where's that thing gone?
Don't know where the string goes under there. I think it's down like
Which is why it's flood zone.
Or,
Stream.
or if the bund was deeper but flatter to go here or something might be better. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of flood area here. I think the opposite side might be more appropriate.
Tree.
Sorry. Do you want to see as well? I'll
I'm
come round to
confused because they are exactly the same size in these
And I will
pictures.
apologise, because it is a slight delay to the GPNF.
Go by the squares.
So if I just squeeze in here, I'll just show you in that. Where the bund is being proposed, this here is the Jubilee Wood, this here is the Mini Property Park, okay? So then, and then on this one, on this site, on this paper, this in the red outline is the Jubilee Wood, and this part here was the Mini Property Park. This whole blue area here is at flood risk. And then you put the bund back here in the flood risk area. I'm not sure that that is.
Can I propose then that we defer this for the time being, pending what our
Yeah,
company come back and say, and that there was other possibilities that we wanted to pursue that could potentially use that spoil if necessary. So can I propose we defer it for now?
I agree, but I just wanted to put a point in there that when we discussed it on Saturday, we also said that the spoils, they have to be of reasonably good quality. We don't know what is under the pitch, no, or the area where the pitch is going to be.
What's being excavated?
So then,
Any old rubbish.
Any Roman points we want?
yeah, if the quality is good, then it could go where the trees are eventually going to go anyway.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't need to be a fund, and if we did end up with a fund in that position, we want drainage through it to stop the flooding. Because all it would do is run down the long end of the fund and then hit the road further down.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, but we want to feed into the park,
Yeah.
not feed it along in the park.
so in summary, it's a view of the committee that Sharon further explores this with our landscape strategy
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
I do think it's worth raising with them a concern over the bund's placement and the surface water risk of groundwater flooding
Yeah.
and see what their opinion is on that matter. And also to
Talking maybe at alternate funds.
explore other alternatives to a bund. And also maybe to see if we could get a soil sample to show what quality of spoil would be taking.
Yeah,
That's my proposal, yeah. You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, so if that's Samantha's proposal, can I please have a seconder to that? I've got Councillor Dalton and a show of hands, please. That's unanimous
yeah,
again.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have the second public participation. Yes.
Following on from what councillors Espain said about bins, can one of those bins be, I think she mentioned Exchange Street, be outside the supermarket? Because that's something disgusting. Thank you very much. And the paperwork that you're looking at, we don't have access to, I don't think, as a current member of the public. So is there any chance it could be put on the? No, I'm sort of thinking of the future. If it can be put
Oh,
as.
Definitely these ones.
That's online already.
This is online
actually.
already.
Yeah, if it's not in its own separate category, it will be in amongst it would have been put in the paperwork when we approved the landscape strategy, but I can't tell you which meeting it is, but the public would have definitely had the opportunity to clear.
Can we just put this on and tag it somewhere as Jubilee Wood,
Yeah, I mean, what I need, this is one of the enhancements that I
Yeah,
said to
yeah.
Leslie, I'd like to do. Yeah, with open spaces, we might be able to now track the project by way of a sort of like a subtitle, if you like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I will take that on that, Sam.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Leslie? Yeah.
Yeah.
If there is nothing else from the public gallery, then we will go to item 11, which is items for the next agenda. I think they can be left as to be confirmed.
Can we send them in if we've got any?
Of
Yeah.
course you can.
Yeah.
And with that, I will close the meeting at 8:05. Apologies for overrunning.
Yeah.
Finish 8 then? Yes.